All right, today we're going to tackle something that's, well, absolutely crucial for building smart AI agents: memory. Without it, our agents are just kind of forgetful. So let's dive into a really powerful technique to solve that.
So, you ever been in a really good conversation with a chatbot, and then boom, it completely forgets what you were talking about just a few minutes ago? It's a super common, super frustrating problem. And it's not just you. There's a very real technical reason this happens, and it actually has a name.
And that name is context rot. It's what happens when a conversation just gets too long for an AI to handle well. See, as that chat history piles up, the quality of the AI's answers can start to decay or, rot. Let's break down exactly why this happens.
First off, these long chats just get noisy. I mean, think about it, right? If you're feeding the entire conversation history back to the model every single time, you're including tons of stuff that doesn't matter anymore. Old greetings, things you corrected, all of that noise makes it way harder for the AI to focus on what's actually important right now.
And then there's the cost. This stuff gets expensive and fast. Every little piece of text in that context window is made of tokens, and you pay for every single token you send to the API. So a huge, bloated conversation history, that's going to lead directly to a much bigger bill. Efficiency is everything.
And finally, all this noise and all this length just makes the model less reliable. The quality of the responses takes a nosedive. The AI might get confused. It might start repeating itself, or it could just lose track of the whole point of the conversation. So the main takeaway here is, just cramming everything into the context is not a strategy that's going to work in the long run.
Okay, so yeah, that's the problem. It sounds kind of bad, but don't worry, there's a really, really elegant solution. It's a design pattern that actually kind of mimics how our own human memory works, and it's called the rolling summary.
So what you're looking at here is a huge shift in how we think about this. The old way, on the left, is like forcing the AI to remember every single word of a book. The smart way is to model human memory. You know how you can remember the last few sentences someone said perfectly? That's your short-term memory. And you have a solid summary of what you talked about before that. That's your long-term memory. We're just going to keep what's recent and summarize the rest.
So, to get a little more formal, the rolling summary pattern is basically a strategy where you keep the last few messages, say the last 4 or 6, in full detail. But everything older than that, it gets compressed into a nice, tight summary. This gives the AI a context window that's so much smaller and way more stable.
And you know what? The logic behind this is so simple. It's really just a two-step process. First, you keep the most recent messages exactly as they are. Second, you take everything older, have the AI create a summary, and you just feed that summary back as part of the system instructions. Simple, but incredibly effective.
Okay, but hold on. There's another layer to this whole thing. What happens if you close your app and restart it? A great memory system isn't just about handling a single long conversation. It's about making that memory, well, last.
I mean, let's just be real for a second. An agent that has amnesia is, well, it's pretty much useless for any serious task, right? If your AI assistant forgets everything about you every time you restart it, it can never build real context to provide any long-term value. We need persistence.
So, the fix is actually pretty straightforward. We just store the memory on disk, usually as a simple JSON file. That way, when the agent starts up, it just reads the file and reloads its memory. And hey, here's a fantastic pro tip, especially for any of you developing on Windows. Always handle your JSON files with UTF-8 encoding. Why? Because if a user sends an emoji and you're not using UTF-8, you can crash the whole system. It's such a simple fix for a really frustrating bug.
All right, so we're summarizing old messages. That's the plan. But, and this is a big but, the quality of that summary is everything. A bad summary is just as bad as no summary at all. So how do we make sure we're crafting the perfect one?
This little table right here, think of it as your cheat sheet. On the left, this is what you want to do. Preserve the key facts, log the important decisions that were made, and track any open questions that still need answers. What you don't want is wordy storytelling or a bunch of conversational fluff. The AI needs dense, actionable info, not a bedtime story.
And while we're on the topic of quality, here's another quick pro tip for you. When you ask the language model to actually create the summary, use a low temperature setting. Temperature this controls how random the output is. A high temperature is great for, say, creative writing, but for summarizing facts, you want it to be as consistent and reliable as possible. A low temperature, like 0.1 or 0.2, is absolutely perfect for this. Okay,
We've talked about the why, we've talked about the how. Now it's your turn to actually build this thing. Let's walk through a quick exercise so you can put this theory into practice.
So in the exercise files we've provided, you're going to be looking at three main things. You've got the main Python script, a memorystore.json file where you can actually watch the memory get saved, and an environment file that you'll need to rename to .env to get everything running. So here's what I want you to do. This is your challenge. First, I want you to jump into the code and change the summary format to be more structured. Let's go with a section for facts, one for open loops, and one for decisions. Then, just have a chat with your agent. Go back and forth long enough for it to trigger the summarization. And finally, pop open that memorystore.json file and see if your new structured summary is actually there.
And that really is the core of it. This rolling summary technique is a fundamental building block for creating AI agents that actually feel intelligent and stateful. So the real question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you know how to give your AI a reliable memory, what incredible things are you going to build with it?